All right, we'd like to introduce you, our listeners, again to Nicholas Chimonas. He's the Director of R&D at Page One Power. How are you doing again, sir?
Quite well. Loving the show so far. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Well, Nick, you came across our radar with the Moz article just recently posted, and that was the 2016 State of Link Building Survey Results and Analysis. First and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been working professionally in link building for about 4 years now at a link building agency here in Boise, Idaho called Page One Power. We're all located in the same building together. We're about 70 people total now, and it was about 20 people when I began in the fall of 2012.
Oh, wow.
No, so cool. We've grown a lot. We've seen a lot of growth. We've seen a lot of evolution of this industry along the way. We had to make our own pivots, but at the same time, we really got going so I guess we were about maybe 9 months old when I joined. Mm-hmm. So we had been working just for the smallest amount of time before Penguin was released.
Oh, really?
We always had the right idea, right? Yeah. So, I mean, in the very beginning, like this company was actually founded by two brothers, John and Zach Ball. Mm-hmm. And so they're still the CEOs of the company, co-CEO, CEO. And when they first started, they totally, they were practicing with like the typical link spamming stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, find directory 123 linksubmit.com,
go find
.net,
a common
.info.
area, yeah.
And at one time that worked very well. It was John Ball actually was a professional photographer before he got into SEO. He owned his own photography business, and it was through this type of link building that he was able to rank his business, make money, and he started doing that for friends. And very quickly he realized that's not a sustainable way to do things. So he had this idea that after actually getting consulting from Eric Ward, if you're familiar with that guy, so the father of link building.
Oh, yeah.
They had some consulting sessions with him about, here's how we really do it. Here's actually how you actually earn the right types of links. You deserve the links, so do it this white hat way. And these are the types of links that are really going to stand the test of time.
Right.
So then Penguin came out, and of course we just got a flood of clients because we'd already been marketing ourselves at that point as we're a white hat, relevancy first link building firm, right? We want to pursue links where these sites are actually potential places on the web your target audience might peruse, maybe, covers affinities or topics of interest that your target demographics are going to align with. And these are the types of links where if they might even drive click-through traffic, those are the ones that really are going to impact rankings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just getting into the authentic realm before anything else.
Right. And so, by judging kind of relevancy first and then looking in terms of authority after that, that's what really propelled our product. It's the philosophy that guided us through the turbulent storms of 2012, 2013. And really, it's kind of calmed down quite a bit in the past couple of years. 2015 and I think 2016 so far have shown a lot more level-headed thinking in terms of how to do link building the right way. Mm-hmm. I think it very quickly became a dirty word in 2012 where, so many businesses got burned by these really spammy practices of the past. They got penalized, they got a manual penalty, or they were affected by Penguin. And, we talked to a lot of businesses. I've talked to a lot of businesses that, were on their last legs, having to lay off staff, absolutely decimated because all of their traffic disappeared 1 month.
Oh, yeah. And Nick, I mean, we inherit clients on a regular basis that have had that done to them. I mean, to the degree, unfortunately, in at least one particular case, we had to literally put the patient down and change domains. There was no way that we were able to recover from the spam that was coming at them from. I mean, the case in point is that they had hired a black hat spam firm to do this and build their link building up, and as soon as they fired them, all of a sudden, all the anchor text turned to an entire new concept that had nothing to do with what the company was whatsoever. Got them in. They were also known for heart medication, and they were just getting tanked regularly. I mean, it was like a fire hose of negative SEO. It was just amazing. So I mean, there's this stuff out there regularly, and I mean, clients come in limping because of those bad techniques.
Right. And, oftentimes there's no way to save it. These days, it's still Penguin is an issue for a lot of those sites. It's less common now because it's been so long since the first couple waves of Penguin. But even now, there have been a couple clients I've spoken to where they actually still haven't been hit by Penguin. Maybe, 70% of their link profile is that pure spam, exact match anchor text, spammed across a bunch of article farms and, link directories and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're still ranking well. And they're just wondering, should we disavow this stuff? Because we're pretty sure it's bad. And we think once Penguin refreshes again, it is going to kill us. And what should we do? And it's like, well, what do? If you're not caught yet, but you're probably about to be destroyed, but at the same time, they're actually probably ranking well because of that spam, because it's the only thing making up their link profile.
Right.
Now, if they disavow it, are they doomed, or they just wait for their doom when Penguin finally does catch up to them?
Sword of Damocles hanging over their head there. It's like, all right. And what would you actually counsel in that particular regard?
Well, for them, we pretty much recommended that they wait it out, and for now, you can keep trying to build links here, but ultimately, with that level of spam, when you're propped up on this house of cards, essentially, either Penguin's going to wipe it out or you're going to disavow it yourself and wipe yourself out. You probably wait, and then once it's gone, you burn it and you start a new site. And that is the unfortunate truth that I've found to be really actually the reality of the situation of Penguin hit sites. It's pretty rare. Unless they actually have a great link profile that is there, then maybe it's worth trying to save it. They had a great link profile. Someone did some spam because they thought it boosted even better. Maybe you can disavow that stuff and continue to build good links and move on. But the majority of the time, even when you disavow Penguin hit sites, there's not much recovery because the only thing that was making them rank in the first place was all this spam. That's one of the hardest conversations to have with a business owner, that you essentially should probably start fresh, get a new domain name. That's a lot of investment.
That really is. Is there a middle ground of sectional disavow that can actually go over time in the midst of you building up new link value so you can actually switch out and hopefully have a lot stronger link profile over a period of time, or do you think that is sometimes a little bit more of pulling that card out amongst most of those cards that are propping this thing up? Can it be surgically done like that?
I think that's not necessarily impossible, but it's never something I've gambled with.
Got it.
I would rather not be risking in the back of my mind, what might happen here if I'm investing all this time into building good links, because building good links nowadays is a lot of effort and a pretty significant investment. So if you're going to invest it, I'd rather invest it in something that is pure, clean, doesn't have pre-existing issues. It's not like a site where, there's a lot of technical SEO problems and we'll go ahead and fix, the immediate crawling and indexation issues. We'll get you new XML sitemap and fix up your robots.txt. Right. Over time, we'll go through and fix your title tags. We can fix the big things right now. Over time, we'll go and we'll update your title tags and meta descriptions and H1s and whatever.
Clean up other areas.
That's different. Yeah, I think you can be surgical like that because you know what you're working with. You know what the effects are going to be. But with Penguin or even with Panda, it's such an unknown. Mm-hmm. There's no feedback. Even at least with a manual penalty, when it's removed, right? You get a message back and it's been removed. Thank you for complying.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Penguin, it's such a black box. I think it's really unfortunate and not so fair of Google. I understand kind of their logic that, we don't want black hats to reverse engineer our stuff. I think that happens regardless from the smartest black hats, but I think just a little feedback loop, at least in Webmaster Tools, that says the site is affected by Penguin or now it's not.
Right.
Your disavow file really was processed. I mean, they don't even tell you when they've crawled these domains that you submitted into your disavow file. Marie Haynes had a cool trick where if you check the cache date, you use something like URL Profile or even just a Google search operator to check the last index, last cache date of a URL, and allegedly that's when, Google's crawled this, so the disavow equivalent of no follow should be applied or whatever. But they don't even tell you that.
No, they don't. Well, I mean that's certainly. I mean, disavow is the coin of the realm when cleanup happens. You talked about a bit of history of your work experience. Would you like to speak a bit of a history about link building as a process?
Sure, absolutely. So like kind of I was saying, I came in right after Penguin. We'd already made a pivot before Penguin to do things the right way. Sort of build real relationships, find sites manually, outreach with personalized messages, not blast the templates, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So for us, our philosophy has always really been, it started at that base point and we grew from there. And we've evolved into kind of, I think, what's become more advanced over the past 4 years. But it's always been about, trying to get a link on a site that is actually relevant to our client site. That's the base premise. We might do this through guest blogging, right, where we're doing some site finding, we're finding relevant blogs or publications of any kind, really, where we might write a piece of content that is somehow, top of the funnel related, at least somewhere in the awareness stage of our client's relevancy niche, and publish this content with some links in it back to our client site, maybe to some other authoritative resources within the space. So it's in a good link neighborhood, it's in contextually relevant content, and it's pointing back to our client site from authoritative and relevant domains. That's always been the base premise of what we do. So actually, when I started at Page One Power, I really focused on a lot of the niche research. I loved, diving in and finding every site within the realm, kind of trying to figure out the authoritative measurements of each site, based on link profiles or on traffic stats or the kinds of keywords these sites were ranking for. And then distilling that down into what people and influencers are involved in these spaces, what their social media spheres are, and that kind of stuff. And then passing that off to the creative team or outreach team to build content around what these sites' audiences are interested in that are also relevant to our client sites, so we can get links that stick and don't get stripped and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that, that's been the base premise of our guest blogging process. The other was research-based, where it's purely just finding sites where there's a link opportunity of any kind. I mean, there's 50 different tactics out there you've heard of, like right, broken link building, fresh mentions and reverse image searching, and even just finding resource pages. I think these are some of the most underrated and undervalued, but probably high-value links are just resource page links, where some of these pages, that just has a list of relevant resources and your site might be a fit there, mm-hmm, reaching out to webmasters, talking to people and saying, hey, this is a perfect fit for this. And it's more common than you think that those pages are out there, even in the modern era where I think, it's less common on a site to see, links, right? Like that was something that was super popular in the early days of the web, GeoCities, and I think it was right, born out of that, and we right, didn't have social media yet, right?
Yep.
But those pages are out there, and I think a lot of authoritative domains, especially some, educational resources or .orgs, organizations, even some, .gov sites and whatnot that have these links pages, list links pages, and those pages are pretty powerful. They're old, they've accrued a lot of link equity, usually on authoritative sites, and just even finding those sites and outreaching is one of the types of links we can produce.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're talking, it's music to my ears, actually, because that's the way you're supposed to do it. And it is hard. And it's not.
It takes a lot of time.
It does, and it's not. It's not a numbers game. It's the authoritative game, and you have to pursue it with due diligence. You've got to continue keeping it a focus on that, doing your research, you got to look at competitors, but at the same time, don't follow a competitor map, because guess what? A lot of that's garbage in their own right,
right.
But you can certainly triangulate. And what's your thoughts about common links that are shared by multiple competitors in a top 10 ranking space? Do you look at that as an additional strategy to deploy?
Yeah, I do. I really want to gather as much data as I can. I think it is interesting to see, especially where your competitors' sites' link profiles overlap. So yep, pages that both your competitors link to.
Yep.
And, it's not necessarily I want to go out and replicate everything they've done, but I'll go through and quantify that stuff in my own right and see which of those pages are actually indexed, which ones have link equity built up, maybe through Moz's PA or Majestic's trust flow, citation flow, that kind of stuff. And I might outreach to some of those if they're really relevant and they're powerful, but more so when I'm getting to know a client, it's a good starting place to see what types of sites do link to the type of site I'm working with. And so it's a good place to understand that. It gives you a good idea of which sites are actually relevant. And then from there, you should find which people are associated with these sites, go down that rabbit trail. I mean, stuff that's really helped advance our type of link building is tools like BuzzSumo, and Follower Wonk. And BuzzStream's Discovery is actually another tool that came out recently. And that kind of stuff has really taken it from being, there's this whole idea of relationship building where you should build relationships and links will come. And I think that's somewhat true, but you can also be deliberate about building relationships because these relationships will be able to be leveraged for links, for content opportunities or whatever it is. And that's where those kind of tools and that kind of process has taken us.
Excellent. Well, here I want to tie the segment off here and go into another segment talking about your survey and the results of your survey for that Moz post. You game for that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we're going to be continuing our discussion with the state of link building in 2016 with Nicholas Chimonas coming up right after this. Nick, thanks for continuing the interview here regarding your blog post on Moz. I did want to catch one thing before we got into that article. Is you were talking about between breaks. You were talking about your customers and clients, and that we said in our discussions here that it's not a numbers game anymore regarding building links. And in fact, Page One Power, you're not doing that execution to grow a good number of links is all the strength of the individual. So you may be building just a few links on a monthly campaign, but they're worth their weight in gold. Now, the customer or your client, right, they're still trapped by the old metrics, the old understanding of what DA means, what PA means, and they're holding you accountable to some of the old ways to pay attention to link growth, right?
Sure, yeah, and then certainly not all of them, but some of them, and this is something that I've been very pleased to see kind of slowly diminish over time as it's been longer since Penguin, because a lot of this was an old thought process that came prior to Penguin, before Google did a pretty good job of combating this style of link building where it was purely quantity based. We will get you 500 directories this month and 500 article farm links and 3,000 social bookmarks and whatever. It went on, and that style of thought, was easy for clients to understand. It's easy to quantify something rather than to qualify the relevance of a site and how much that means, what value that is. And so Pagerank, toolbar Pagerank ruled the land for a long time because it's Google's metric. And so it's 1 through 10. This is the power of the link from this domain. It's so simple. Of course, it's more complicated than that. Of course, relevancy and topical relevance of a domain and topical relevance of a page are probably weighted a little more heavily today than they ever were. And with Penguin, it absolutely became that, links didn't become less valuable. It's spammy links that became less valuable, which probably only increased the links power, the value of links that are actually relevant, right? So I think that the bigger issue has been to get clients to understand that as we're earning links, as we're building relationships, we're working with people, it's a slow process, and that oftentimes it's not hundreds of links, it's 10 to 20 links based on, how competitive your keywords are that you're working with, and looking at the breadth of a keyword theme, an entire topic of keywords rather than just one singular head term, that as you work on, rather than building exact match anchor text links towards one keyword and quantifying that improvement through rank by a quantifiable number of links, all of that is out the window. Now all of a sudden we're working with an entire broad theme. We're doing a lot of partial match anchor text and contextually relevant stuff and co-occurrence and all that, and slowly improving an entire group of keywords that are relevant towards, other long tail variations of the same topic and maybe ultimately impacting the head term, but through lower numbers of links, which are more relevant and harder to quantify the exact value of. And so for some old school thought process type clients, it can be a battle, or it was battle, and really we have a lot less of that today. I think reflecting an overall shift of the industry, that link building has I think gone through quite an evolution of what people think of when they think of link building. It used to be spam purely. Then, for a while there, for a couple of years, it was like, well, maybe there's, it's a lot of old spammy tricks we're cleaning up from Penguin and Disavowing, and maybe there's some people here doing link earning and relationship building, whatever that means. And then it was like, well, it's content marketing. That's just our clean branded way of talking about it. It's content marketing. So it's content. It's all about that. And links will come, hopefully, after some social shares. But now it's like come full circle, right? We can talk about link building again.
I feel, because I'm one of those guys, honestly. When anybody uses the term link building, I cringe.
Right.
Now, exactly what Nick is talking about and what you guys do, and we analyze, obviously, why are we winning or losing rank, within our own properties or our clients. But the problem to me is that there is still a massive amount of SEO guys out there, old school link building.
Right.
And so,
yeah.
So me, personally, I feel the biggest problem with link building is the terminology link building. Like, we need a new terminology for it.
And it's not even link earning anymore.
Because it's not about the link, right?
It's about the relationship.
It's about the relevance of that page, the audience of that page, the popularity of that page. Like, there's so much more that Nick's talking about that goes into that analysis.
Influence building.
Yeah. So I feel like let's talk to Rand. Let's get a new...
we need a new term.
Right. Yeah, he had that whiteboard Friday. It was like the death of link building and the rebirth of link earning.
Right.
Yeah.
But it didn't catch on. My final question in my survey, the Moz survey, we had about 435 marketers.
Yeah.
Roughly, maybe like 40% were agencies, 40% were in-house. The other 20% were business owners and freelancers. But I asked, what's the best name for link building? Over the years, there's been so many rebrands or identifiers or people trying to say, we need a new name, because you're right, the terminology is muddy and it's confusing, especially to people that are newcomers, right? And they're seeing all this conflicting information. But over half still voted link building. There was 1/3, just a little over a third, that voted content marketing as the second. And then the next highest was 25% that voted, I couldn't care less what anyone calls it as long as it works.
But the problem is educating the masses. Like, I don't care what the SEO industry thinks. Honestly.
Here.
The problem is that we have clients that don't know the difference. They think when they hear link building, either they run away or they have no clue what it is. And so if they're talking to
they look it up.
And so if they're talking to a sophisticated SEO, he's saying the right thing. But if they're talking to a black hat old school SEO, he's going to take them for a ride, and they're going to wind up penalized or buried.
And it's a constant stigma against professional search engine optimization services, is you have this thing that's still hanging out there. People are still getting spun around, right?
Yeah.
And the terms do need to change, because only then will education actually separate the wheat from the chaff. Otherwise, you're using the same terms, same concepts, and you're giving another cycle to these black hat SEOs.
Right.
Yep. Right. All right. And this is an ethical responsibility on the part of the person delivering the service. And when a client asks, if you don't tell them, there's some risk here involved. Like someone that I really respect a lot in the link building space is Julie Joyce. She runs Linkfish Media. They're also a link building focused firm. They do a lot of the same kind of stuff that we do, but they also do some paid links, which is something we kind of never really bothered with. It's sort of hassled us. There's some risk involved as well.
Right.
But she does it, and she's very forthright about it. And she says, we do some paid links, and when she pitches it to a client, it's, we could buy some links. Here's some opportunities that are out there. these are the risks associated with that. This is an association. It looks pretty legit. You're paying to be a part of the association. You just happen to get this link that isn't no followed out of it. But it is a relevant association for you to be a part of, right? So this is probably a low risk paid link, and you should get it. Others, might be higher risk. Somewhere on the site, you can pay us for this link. And she's honest about the clients with that. She tells them exactly what's going to happen, and then they make the decision: do I want to take this risk or not? But maybe some black hats don't. I just think it's less common now because Google has done such an incredibly good job of combating black hat spam's efficacy. It really I just see so many less clients coming in, or prospective clients coming into our sales team and contacting us and whatnot with requests for link cleanup or requests for, or we've been affected by this. It's been so long since all of that was swept away and largely attacked and diminished by Google that we just don't see it so much. And so we like the idea of link building. Actually, if it were me and if I had to rebrand link building and call it something else, I actually really do like the idea of link earning. What we do really at its root is we help our clients get the links they deserve, right? And if they don't deserve links, we help them build content so that they do deserve those links,
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're down to the bare essence, that's exactly what you're doing. And you're passing muster from those that can actually extend value from their organization. So you're earning the right to have their link. That is absolutely what the case is. Hey,
plenty of times they've already earned a link, and actually all it really takes is reaching out to someone because they've been mentioned, perhaps, and they just weren't linked. Or, this site is completely all relevant to content you've produced, and they would love to link about it. They just don't know about it. Yep. And sometimes I think you have to be deliberate about being promotional, about talking to people and reaching out if you're going to get all those links that you have the opportunity of getting.
Absolutely. Hey, part of your survey, I was perusing all the different questions. It's a great survey. One of the questions you asked is what percentage of the overall SEO budget, as you asked these different 434 recipients or responders, what percentage of the SEO budget is actually dedicated to link building? And 53% went from 0 to 25%. That in its own right is very interesting to me because SEOs understand how important the inbound factor is to the authority of a domain, but over 50% aren't even putting in the time or the expense to make it happen. What did you come away with that particular point?
I thought it was fascinating. I mean, especially because for us, we focused and specialized almost entirely on link building. Right. I mean, even though we do just link building, we oftentimes encounter a client that needs technical SEO fixed. They need some content development on their site. And so we do those things, and they're really in the silo of link building. We're doing it because we know we need to have a link blasted on our client's site to get link building. And so, I almost actually wondered afterwards if this question was a little bit too vague, right? Because so for example, for us, we build content. You could call that just on-page content development or copywriting. But it really was part of our link building activities because we needed to build this resourceful content on the client site with internal links to the product pages so we could get links to the resourceful content we built instead of the product pages, right? Mm-hmm. So
some deep links.
Right. And so this is like, I think possibly reflective as well of our audience, which was quite a bit different than previous years, where we had a significantly higher percentage of in-house SEOs, right, and freelancers as well than years past. In years past, it was almost entirely agencies, and this year we targeted a broader audience there. So I think a lot of that's possibly that, when you hire a freelancer, they're probably only spending under $1,000 on, and actually I segmented it as such, average budget per month for link building compared to agencies, right, compared to in-house. Agencies was a much more even spread where you had basically, the three main percentage points, they're all about a quarter of the pie, or a quarter spending under 1,000, a quarter spending 1,000 to 2,500, and another quarter spending 2,500 to 5,000. Compared to in-house, where you have a third, actually over a third, that are spending under 1,000 on link building, and then another only 17% spending 1,000 to 2,500, and 20% actually 2,500 to 5,000. And it becomes even more disparate for an in-house, a business owner or a freelancer, where half is under 1,000, because who's hiring at just one freelancer at more than $1,000 a month for link building? So for us, it's completely different, because we're approaching this as a team, you're hiring a large team of individuals, and it's just different in an agency, I suppose.
Yeah, you had some deeper questions. You must go, for everyone listening, go check out the blog article. It's fantastic. A lot of good questions here. Speaking of, which link building tactics do you use? And you broke it down for content publication, promotion and guest posting, resource pages, link list pages, digital PR, local citations, unlinked mentions, infographic promotion, broken link building, paid links. Great tactics, and it gives the full breakdown of what your responders laid out. And I mean, by and large, just for that in its own right, 90% content publication, promotion, and guest posting. That actually was surprising, because I would have thought that would have been started to disseminate into these other tactics more often, but it's still guest posting. It's still, that's the easy win, I guess, is in that space. And on top of that, correlating to,
and this did include, of course, content publication promotion, which, as many people would propose it to be, is content marketing.
Right.
That you're developing this incredible piece of content, you get it out there, and then you promote it.
Right.
Get links to it. Is this link building, is this content marketing? And I think really maybe the only difference there is that content marketing actually has many other goals besides just improving organic rankings through link acquisition.
Right.
Link acquisition is something that could happen because of content marketing, but most of the time, either content marketing isn't thinking about the links at all, or it is so focused on that one goal and not any of the other goals of content marketing that you probably are more accurately calling it just link building.
Number of tools were mentioned in this survey as well. At least 40% of the respondents voted on link tools, SEO tools to be used for link building. Google Analytics and Search Console, Moz, BuzzStream, Ahrefs, SEMrush, BuzzSumo, Majestic, and Screaming Frog all were above 40% in tools. So go for listeners, got to go check out those tools. They're invaluable whenever you're on the pursuit of links.
And some of them use each other.
They do, absolutely. It's packaged
indeed.
Very cool. Were there any other thoughts about your survey? I have a couple questions to finish it up. Any other thoughts about the success of the survey? How has it been received by the Moz audience?
Well, I think pretty well. And actually, this was a lot larger survey than years past. This one, we were able to get responses from 435 individuals, which was actually over 100 more than the last survey, which took place in 2014. There was no survey in 2015. And 2014 survey was actually, I think, 50 or so more than 2013. So it actually has increased in size every year.
Great. No,
as far as what happened in 2015, I'm not sure. I have no idea. But I saw it didn't happen, and so I saw that gap and chose, speaking with John Doherty. He helped me promote this survey. He helped me craft it as well, and kind of edit the questions and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he had recently done some pretty interesting research with his company, which is getcredo.com, and he works with, it's kind of like a sourcing agency for clients and also for SEOs and professionals to find clients, find one another based on their needs and people that are endorsed by John, and he's a pretty well-known, respectable guy, and it's a pretty cool thing. But he had done some research on kind of average consulting rates, average SEO, agency versus freelance, and I'd seen he'd done that research and thought it was pretty interesting, so I partnered with him to do this survey. Rand helped tweet it out quite a bit. BuzzStream shared it with their customer base. So we got a pretty good response here, but it's also very long. So I think a lot of people, it did incredible on social. It got shared a lot and that kind of thing. It's had like 60 comments or so, but way more views than the average number of comments. So a lot of people have viewed the post, not commented, but it's a really long post. It's something kind of worth like slowly enjoying over the course of an hour with a cup of whiskey.
Like a good cigar. Exactly.
And a great cigar. Yeah.
Well, I got a couple of questions for you to finish up our interview. One of them, I want to congratulate you on that blog post. That's fantastic, and we certainly want our listeners to check that out and savor it. Right? Regarding the future, you mentioned many futurists continually to predict the death of links as a ranking signal. Right? Not unlike the doomsday sayers for SEO in general.
Sure.
SEO is dead.
Yep.
No, it's not. That said,
we're still here a year after Mobilegeddon. It's unbelievable. I can't believe we're still alive.
We're living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
That said, do you expect link building to continually evolve while remaining an important piece, or do you expect it to eventually take a back seat algorithmically?
That's a really good question. And I think that, a lot of people view it in the latter form, that, as more signals are introduced, it's like a shrinking pie chart. There's only 100% on the chart. So the more signals you add, well, then of course everything else must become somewhat diminished. I think that's probably an overly simplistic way of viewing something as complicated as ranking algorithms developed by Google engineers with machine learning models and all of this. I think it's more likely that if we're going to try to simplify it, it's probably more like a bar chart. And this is actually a great analogy I stole from Rand Fishkin, where he's kind of talking about the idea that if you think about ranking signals as a bar chart rather than a pie chart, you can add an infinite number of bars, and no bar is necessarily more important than the other or taking away a percentage of the overall algorithm, but that it's further checks and balances against any other signal, right?
Right.
So when I think about mobile rankings versus desktop rankings, I'm thinking about how definitely links and a healthy link profile, an authoritative link profile is going to be important for ranking in mobile results, right? And where you rank it beyond proximity and locality. If it's, of course, if it's a local term, then right, your geography is going to rule those SERPs on your mobile device. But if we're talking about commercial terms and whatnot, big head terms and that kind of stuff, link profile is still going to affect where you are. However, on desktop, you might show up great if you have a non-mobile friendly site, but on mobile, you will be nowhere because you don't have a mobile friendly site. It's an additional check and balance that can trump the other signal. And there's a ton of these different signals that, I think are all weighed in context with one another, but not necessarily in diminishing return. And so, that's kind of how I see it. And I think links will always be important. It is literally the fabric of the internet. I think a lot of times we forget with how, advanced everything's becoming and social media and all this stuff, that the internet is only content and links. That is all the internet is. Everything else on the internet is those two things, content or links connecting content. So at its base form, there is no more measurable way of understanding connections on the web.
Do you hear that?
That's why Google is built that way.
There is no value for the fat cheetah videos. It's just content and links.
Unless you're
video is content, right?
Fat cheetahs.
And then Katie bar the door, right?
Gotcha.
Last question.
Yeah, there's some cat memes in there too. But.
Cat hats.
And cat hats, yes, absolutely, and batfish. All right, one more question. What is your favorite go-to beer right now? And what are a couple other favorite breweries in your region of the country there?
Well, Anchor Steam is my favorite beer. It's out of San Francisco. They've been brewing for a couple hundred years now.
Oh, sweet!
And I've always loved them.
What if he was in AA? What if you asked that question and the guy was like, "Sorry, I'm recovering alcoholic."
I roll the dice, baby.
We're marketers. We're marketers.
We're marketers.
we have to drink with Google.
There's no marketer. No one that can actually call themselves a marketer has not been driven to drink.
There it
Otherwise,
is.
you're not a marketer. You're somebody. You're an internet denizen, perhaps, but.
It's either in your basement with Cheetos or you're a drinker.
Or drinking and eating Cheetos simultaneously.
Well, Nicholas, thank you so much. This has been a very enjoyable conversation. I really appreciate the depth of information that you've provided, and especially the long read that we've been able to experience with that article and your survey. You're going to be able to do it next year?
Hopefully, yeah. I would love to do it again, or if someone else takes the reins, that's fine too. But I would love to be a part of it. It's a really incredible process. I had to get a brain surgery after I was done from staring at spreadsheets for too long. But yeah, nice lobotomy, so that was freshening. But yeah, no, it was a great time, and hopefully I can do it again.
Very good. Well.